service the public get has changed. We may be dealing over the phone where they'd like to see us, and I'm sorry about it, but that's the reality of where policing is.
Distant cuts are devastating communities and leaving them completely exposed. Since 2010, we lost more than 21,000 police officers.
The force is much more stretched than it's ever been in terms of the demands placed on it, and you're right, we've around 2,000 less officers than we had 7 years ago.
In order to set priorities, you have to say no to something else. In order to set priorities, you have to ration something else. And how many times over the past 10 years have you heard that Tory cuts have devastated British policing? How many times have you heard that a police force that spends vast sums of your money on pride-paying jobs for police vehicles and items of clothing is in desperate need of taxpayer cash? How many times have you heard that a burglary or a mugging can't be investigated because the police have to focus their strained resources elsewhere? Many, I'd imagine. Dorothy, from down the road from you, she might be robbed, but the police don't have the resources to investigate it. They do, however, seem to be able to find the funds to spend almost 75,000 quid on a new assistant director of fairness and belonging. I dread to think how much the director of the post is getting, and just how big the team of woke HR advisors are actually getting. I wouldn't be able to get out of bed and look myself in the mirror were my job title the Assistant Director of Fairness and Belonging, but I dare say, folks, that a cool 75,000 grand with a cushy public sector pension billed to the taxpayer would sweeten the frankly embarrassing title. It would put a certain spring in me step, to say the least. The job description speaks about the ideal candidate being able to develop and deliver a first-class diversity and inclusion function, when the priorities of the public are to stop theft and knife crime. The job description speaks of being able to develop your people, which includes a team of diversity and inclusion practitioners and the fairness in policing team, when the priorities of the public are to see more bobbies on the beat, not more woke HR hires. And then the job description speaks of being able to naturally inspire confidence and instill trust as a visible leader, when the priorities of the public are to restore confidence and faith in their own safety and that of their kids. I'm sorry, but if this is the West Midlands Police's solution, then the chiefs of West Midlands Police are clearly the problem. And each time a police force tweets their support for some trendy new gender or sexuality, bends the knee to Black Lives Matter protesters, or allows the extremists in Extinction Rebellion to shut down London, they chip away at the confidence and, crucially, chip away at the fear of British policing. If British policing don't command our trust and respect, they'll find it much more difficult to enforce and be the custodians of our law. But folks, it isn't just the counting of the nickel and dimes of this £75,000 or the generous public sector pension scheme that it boasts of that's the problem. It's the very fact that the police feel they are satisfying some form of woke requirement by creating this post and just what the person in this job is likely to do. Were they to sit there and not do anything, being the sort of caricature of the donut-eating cop from The Simpsons,
whoa, that was close.
it might be alright, but they won't. They are likely to be influencing decision making. They're likely to be implementing policies. There are wider dynamic costs to what they'll likely do in their jobs. And it might be the case, folks, that this stuff is actually imposed on the police through the Public Sector Equality Duty of the Equality Act of 2010. This is where we're actually going wrong on all this diversity and fairness nonsense, and where the Equality Act is completely removed from the priorities of the public. We don't need rank and file officers being placed on yet more training courses by their new fairness and belonging team, with their attention pulled away from vital policing and law enforcement. The kind of fairness and belonging that the public want to see would be protecting their kids from knife crime or protecting their elderly from theft. That would be the best way to make communities less fearful. And ultimately, a less fearful society is a much healthier society. That's genuine belonging. That's instilling genuine belonging in a society. And last year we saw that I was investigated by the police for broadcasting an interview that the police said stirred up racial hatred. We also saw that over 120,000 non-crime hate incidents, of which I'm now one, have been recorded, and that the Law Commission, an unelected quango, wants to actually expand the protected characteristics contained within the Equality Act of 2010. This would be a mistake. Yet more abuse of taxpayer cash would no doubt follow, and yet more priorities of the police, or rather of the public, they wish the police had, would be pulled away from frontline policing. We need to get British policing back on our streets and away from our tweets. If this government is truly in touch with the people's priorities, they'd use their 80-seat majority to do just that. I'm Darren Grimes for Reasoned UK. Reasoned relies upon grassroots donations from people like yourself that want us to continue producing our high quality, free thinking content. So please do consider clicking the link and donating, no matter how big, no matter how small, because it really does ensure that we can keep on keeping on.